Welcome to the Honest Recruiter podcast, powered by MRL Consulting Group, the no-filter podcast about working in the recruitment industry. Hear about real-life consultants and business owners talking about everything recruitment, leaving out zero detail. If you already work in recruitment or are thinking about working in recruitment, sit back and enjoy the ride. Hi everyone, and welcome to the fourth Honest Recruiter podcast. Today we've got Terry Hiscock, our head of account management team here at MRL. Now, most of you might be thinking, account management in recruitment, is that even a thing? Well, it's very much so the case here at MRL. And today's podcast is to really tell you about the account manager model and what it actually looks like. So Terry, before we start, and I say this to all our guests, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what kind of made you end up working in recruitment and especially ended up working at MRL?
Okay, sure. So I've been working in technology recruitment for over 20 years. Like a lot of people of my generation, I kind of fell into recruitment.
You know what? Everyone says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really I don't think anybody even knew it was a thing, let alone a career. So I went to a recruitment company to find another job, registering as an applicant, and they approached me to work for them. That was really old school, 120 calls a day.
So what did you do before recruitment then?
I was in retail general management.
Okay.
So I went to an agency to find another job in that field, and they had a team that recruited into the retail space, and they approached me to join that team. So it was a totally different environment.
Yeah, I bet.
Retail management, obviously, it's a very passive sale. You can't really influence it that much. But my first role, which was with a company called Austin Ben, coincidentally, our CEO, David Stone, worked there as well, but not at the same time as me. That was a real baptism of fire. It was literally 120 cold calls every day. If you didn't make those, you didn't go home.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Whipped with a cane.
Yeah. It was, but it was a great schooling, and a lot of those techniques are still as valid today as they were back then. In fact, if anything, perhaps more so, to distinguish companies who are more proactive from those that are more reactive and rely on the internet and those more sort of passive forms of communication. So I was there for about 4 years, realised I wanted to get into a slightly more cerebral environment and moved to a company that worked at a much more senior level, which was a company called PSD Group. That was my first taste of proper retained search and working at an executive level. And I've been doing that sort of thing ever since, really.
That's crazy that you and David worked together.
We didn't actually work together.
Or
We worked
you
at the same
worked at the
company,
same company,
about
yeah.
a year apart.
Right.
So, and then we worked obviously at PSD together as well. So
how did you end up working here then for MRL? Off the back of PSD?
well, I had another stint with another great guy. I've been very fortunate to have worked for some really good recruitment companies over the years. And I was working for a company up in London called RP International. The commute to London was frankly just getting too much.
Yeah.
And David heard I was available, approached me, and I joined here in April 2013.
Because you managed David as well.
I did, and he never ceases to remind me that. So it's his opportunity to have some payback, I think.
Yeah.
But no, because we'd worked in two identical environments in the past, I think he knew there'd be a cultural fit for me here, and I'd like to believe there is, and it seems to be working out pretty well.
So what did you like about recruitment then?
Well, coming from retail management, having Saturdays off from the start.
Think, oh, you know what, I could do this.
Yeah, well, but a big draw actually, if it sounds really trite, was having Saturdays off.
Yeah, nice.
But also the opportunity to have more control over your income and ultimately your career path, I think. But I could see in my first company that sort of headroom was pretty limited, really. And that's why I moved to PSD, where I was instantly exposed to a much more senior level of assignment and also international, which is something I'd never done before. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the business is you can make the job your own, really, in terms of scope, geography, the job types, the industries you recruit into, and I still get a buzz out of it.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
I genuinely do.
Yeah.
That sounds corny, but I do.
And I guess you've seen it change it must have evolved.
Oh, yeah.
Like, David said to me loads before about everyone crowding around a fax machine to fax over that CV, and people now coming in just think that's like the Stone Ages.
Well,
really.
yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, it was. I mean, when I first started, even at PSD, we had a very rudimentary candidate database, but we didn't have any client information stored electronically. There was no internet. I mean, it seems inconceivable now that anybody could operate any kind of business without that, but we did. And you say about the industry evolving, I actually have an opinion it's actually de-evolved, because anybody can do it now.
Yeah, you can off from a beach.
Yeah, that's
a laptop and an iPhone. That's all you need.
Perhaps that's a bit unfair, but the bar to entry, I guess, is a lot lower now. Everybody's got LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know, and people still think LinkedIn is the whole world, which it clearly isn't. And I really do struggle to remember how we managed to do the job without all those tools, but we did, and of course our competitors were in the same boat, so the playing field was level. But it was good fun.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So obviously today's podcast is all about the account management model. So traditionally in recruitment businesses, you have a BD person who is, they are the go-to person to get the deals in. They meet the clients. They kind of close the deal. You've got your 360s who do that, but they also fill the roles, and you've got your delivery consultants or resources. Yeah. Here we don't have resources. We don't have delivery consultants. We have BD. We have a couple of 360s, and we have our account managers. Yeah. So, what is that? Okay. I think a few people thinking account managers, but I understand, like software. You've got you talk about their account and you upsell them products, but how does it work kind of here?
So a lot of companies do use a 360 stroke delivery model. So you've got people that are going out and bringing in new instructions, and then they get passed to a delivery team, and quite often those delivery consultants will just be identifying candidates who then pass those on to the 360 consultant, which is a perfectly valid model, and I've seen it work successfully. In my opinion, mainly in very large volume recruitment environments, and where you need to get lots of candidates in very rapidly for big projects, perhaps. What we do here is slightly different. I'm sure it can't be unique, but it is certainly unusual. We have 360 consultants who do the whole life cycle, as you say, bringing requirements in and filling those themselves. But in reality, you're only going to fill 2 or 3 jobs a month at the sort of level at which we operate. So that means there's always going to be surplus requirements, which we're not going to touch. Yeah. So the account management team are assigned to a specific consultant within a specific vertical market, so they become equally expert in that space. One thing I have seen fail in the past is where you have a kind of pooled resourcing team where they're feeding a number of consultants, and you don't really get any degree of specialisation in that environment. But this means that the account managers become very, very expert in the vertical markets in which we're operating. So from a business perspective, in terms of making sure we're covering every opportunity, that's one advantage. The other 2 advantages are, everybody knows in recruitment the attrition rate is extraordinarily high. I've heard figures suggesting that 2 out of 3 brand new 360 consultants won't make it. With the account management model, out of the people we've hired in the last 2 to 3 years I've been here, our retention rate's been something like 80%, which is great. It's a softer entrance into the industry because you're working on live qualified roles to begin with, and it also protects the business longer term. If a 360 consultant leaves a company, typically you lose that relationship with the client, even if they don't take it with them. Yeah, you've got to build it pretty much again from scratch.
That sole person's been dealing with that person.
Precisely. So having an account manager, having two people on the account, perhaps even more than that on occasion, you've got that continuity. So
how does it work then? So a BD person would open the account and they'd go, great, we've got these 5 roles you need to fill. Yeah. That account, the BD would then effectively pass it over to the account manager, and they would do the resourcing, but have the relationship with that client.
Yeah, and they see the entire process through to successful placement. So, and my role is to take that management responsibility away from the 360s, so they can go on producing new requirements. I manage the account managers and make sure that they are delivering effectively on those requirements, and the 360s don't need to worry about it once they passed it across.
So that BD person doesn't then deal with that client?
No, they would continue dealing with them, but perhaps in different areas.
Okay.
So again, it's to make sure we've got maximum coverage on every account that we're working with, and the account managers are encouraged to build their own relationships within those clients. So we've got a couple of examples recently with one very big client and one much smaller client, where the 360 who opened those accounts up is now quite happy for the account manager to be the primary point of contact with the client, which frees the 360 to go and bring new clients in. So it's a model that's taken some tweaking, and I think it's still a work in progress, but it is one that appears to be yielding dividends at the moment.
So I guess if there's people listening who do that delivery function role at the moment, they could be thinking, well, there's some occasions where they speak to the client sometimes as well, but also do the delivery.
Yeah.
So how does it differ to just a traditional kind of delivery consultant role?
Because they are encouraged to explore new business streams within those clients.
Right.
So it could be new geographies, it could be new markets for them, different hiring managers. So it just means that we've got double the coverage on the account, and it's coordinated so that the 360 and the account manager aren't trying to approach the same contact at once, and we make sure that there's a degree of coordination to stop that happening. And it has meant that with some of the clients that we picked up in the last couple of years, we've developed, in one particular example, from purely working with them in Europe, we're now doing work in the US, Latin America, China, Singapore, and that success has largely been driven by the account manager.
Okay.
Rather than the 360 that opened up originally.
Right.
I mean, it's clearly no mean feat opening up to begin with, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the account manager's done a great job of actually consolidating that relationship and really expanding it.
I guess there's also the huge benefits to being an account manager versus there's nothing wrong with a delivery consultant, because some people love you're just dealing with the candidates, you're building relationships with them and you're getting in their jobs, and some people prefer to do that over the dealing with the hiring managers, which could be seen as the more negotiations, which some people don't like doing. But what would you say kind of the main benefits of being an account manager over a traditional delivery consultant?
Well, I think it does depend on what one wants to do, really, and I think the delivery function is a perfectly valid one, and I'm not denigrating that in any way whatsoever. But the account managers here have the option, and most of them take that option, of moving into a 360 role after they've learned the market that they're working within.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that every delivery consultant would necessarily want to do it. I don't know. I've never been a delivery consultant, so I can't speak for the entire population. But I think it does give people an instant specialism because they're working with one designated 360 in a way that perhaps a delivery person wouldn't. They may be recruiting across a different range of industries or functions.
And like you said as well, it kind of gives them the opportunity to open up other other verticals within that, or
absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely encourage the account managers to expand within those existing accounts, and it's working.
So what made MRL do it then?
Well, the concept was in play before I joined, and I think not only the fact that David and I had worked together in the past, but the fact that he knew that I was at that time running an account management or a delivery function, if you will, at my previous company, was very fortuitous just in terms of the timing.
Yeah.
What prompted it really was the huge attrition rate that you get from hiring 360s, and it is an industry accepted fact that the majority of them fail.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people fail so quickly?
Because it's bloody hard.
Yeah.
Really? It's bloody hard work.
You've got to really dig in the trenches to start with.
Yeah.
I think that's a shock. I think some people think it's easy. When some people could be billing thousands of pounds of commission each month, they don't actually see the shit you've got to go through to get to that stage.
Totally, yeah.
I think when people come into it, it's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, and I think that and this is why I was saying it earlier about the industry perhaps having de-evolved a little. I think the popular perception of recruitment, I mean, I know that we're only a fraction above estate agents in the public consciousness.
A fraction.
And it probably is a fag packet. Is that we talk to clients, they say, we've got loads of jobs, we post an ad, we get loads of CVs, we send the CVs off, we make a placement. That in a very sort of basic and linear terms, that is the process. But we don't just place an ad, because the markets we're working in are so candidate driven that at the moment the easy bit actually is getting the jobs. The difficult bit is finding the candidates, and that is something that we spend a lot of time investing in training and developing our people to be able to identify the talent that our clients need, and that's why the recruitment industry hasn't been killed off by the internet, which was what was predicted 20 odd years ago. It's because the really good people are the ones that are the hardest to identify, and not just identify, but to engage with and find opportunities for them.
I think also it's about recruitment is building relationships, isn't it? And I think people buy from, but Jamie said it last week, people buy from people.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You can't, deals aren't done over Messenger or LinkedIn. No. Of course you can start a conversation, you can start, obviously now the next generation are on their phones all the time, so of course it's easier to engage with people, a lot easier, but you still have to have that conversation. Yeah,
and I think that digital engagement is a bit of a double-edged sword, because everybody is using those techniques, and for a lot of candidates and clients it's just noise, it's just static, and they'll ignore 90% of it because you haven't got time to read it all. So actually, as you say, being able to engage on a personal level is what makes the difference. And I've been very fortunate to work for some really good companies with really strong brands in their markets. But MRL's brand, great though it is, people aren't buying MRL's brand, they're buying the competence of the consultant they're dealing with.
It's that individual who knows that market.
Yeah, MRL's brand's never going to do us any harm, don't get me wrong. But it's that individual, their knowledge of the market, their ability to engage with clients and identify the best candidates. That's what our clients care about.
So from an account management side then, from training someone up to a standard where they feel comfortable enough to do that, what does that kind of process look like?
Well, I hired 3 complete rookies last year in our rather grandly named academy program, and those individuals were talking to clients within the first 3 to 4 weeks. We're working on live vacancies that quickly. Now, they obviously had a lot of coaching and a lot of mentoring, which is part of my job here, but they were engaging with candidates and clients very early on, but they didn't have to do the really sharp, pointy bit, which is find those clients in the first place. And that's the bit that I think intimidates most people.
I think another thing where people fail, I think it's the whole support side. And I think there's a whole argument to say people that train consultants usually have a target on their head as well. So we're in a very fortunate position to have people like yourself and external trainers to come in to really help the consultants get to a level where we want them to be. So do you think a lot of it is down to the support which some people don't get in the companies?
I think, I say most certainly, yes. Yeah, I say the first company that I joined, I remember new starters coming in on the Monday and going home Monday lunchtime and never coming back. It was that brutal an environment, but it was incredibly good training. But that was it. You sank or swam. But that's not a philosophy that we embrace here at all. We want people to be successful, and we'll give them every ounce of support and encouragement to make sure that they do. And a large part of that initially is having strong client relationships that the 360s have built up, so that we can give them really high quality requirements to work on from day one, and enable them to engage with the candidate population with something sensible to discuss.
So what's it like on the shop floor? So with retail.
On we go.
What's it like with the account manager team then? I guess they're all sat together. And it's a bit of a thought shower where you all kind of come up with ideas. Is it role play? What's it kind of look like?
I mean, certainly initially we do a lot of role playing in the training, but we do work as a team. Obviously we're very close to the 360s. We're all in the same office, on open plan office. But because the way they manage their day and their tasks are different from the 360s, it makes sense for my guys to be sitting next to each other. And we have a meeting every Monday morning, which is not unusual, most recruitment companies do, and one on a Thursday afternoon, because we don't work Fridays. No Fridays. On a Thursday afternoon, where we sit down and analyse what went well, and really have an open forum discussing the challenges or the successes, and trying to replicate the successes and see how we can get through the challenges. And it's a very collaborative environment as a business, but I think so in my team. I'm very pleased with the fact that one of the things about MRL, and I'm sure this isn't unique, but I've seen sales environments where this isn't the case, is nobody wants to be successful at the expense of their colleagues.
Yeah.
And David's done a great job of creating that environment, and I see us as being the kind of people that are custodians of that and are kind of curating it, on his behalf as well, because it's great to work in a sales environment where you haven't got people that are actively undermining their colleagues.
Yeah, it's not toxic.
No.
The thing is, it's awful because people say it's not toxic, there's no backstabbing, but that is actually the case here.
Yes.
Like, it is rare to see that, and I don't know if it's because it's from the big traditional businesses in London where it is very much, I'm out to only feed myself, I don't want that. Is that why it's so different? Is it a thing? Is it the South Coast? Is it different because we're not in London? Or
I think it's a combination of factors. One of the most basic factors is we weed those people out during the interview process.
Yeah.
To be honest, you can have someone that's going to bill £1 million a year, but if they destroy the culture that you've spent 20 plus years creating and nurturing, that's not a price worth paying.
So do you think it comes down to mindset then?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We are. I don't want to sound arrogant, but we are very selective in our interview process because the culture is everything. It just works. It just works. I mean, there aren't a set of rules. I mean, we've got a set of values like every company has, but people aren't instructed how to think here. They just get on with each other.
So when it comes down to mindset, then, is there individual things that you look for to be like an account manager?
I mean, there are certain
like criteria.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the cultural fit, there are certain basic criteria that we do look for. So, evidence of drive, tenacity, organisational skills are incredibly important as well. So we look for people that have had, even if it's not necessarily work-related achievements, if they're perhaps coming in as a graduate with only 1 or 2 years' experience, but what did they do at university? Did they fund themselves through it? Did they take a year out and travel the world? Some evidence of independence and kind of just a kind of outward-looking personality is really important, because a lot of our work is international, and we want people that are interested in new things. Sounds a bit corny, but that's that kind of curiosity about learning stuff you don't know.
I think so especially important. What we do, it's it's high tech, and it's new innovations, it's brand new products that people aren't even working on. We had Harley on a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that he was dealing with clients that were coming up with the fingerprint scanners for Apple, and obviously they couldn't tell Harley that, but now you just think that's second nature. But it was in development for the years, and Harley's like, we're placing these engineers in these businesses to create this stuff which everyone's using every day. So you should kind of take that for granted a little bit, what we're doing.
Well, I think I don't think one should take it for granted, I guess, because I think that's what makes it exciting.
Oh, for sure.
In all honesty, if you think about autonomous driving, autonomous vehicles, that didn't exist 10 years ago. So you're not going to find someone with 15 years experience in autonomous vehicles. And it's the same when I was working at PSD. Mobile payments were just becoming, evolving and becoming an actual thing you can actually use. And at the time, the telecoms companies that were providing the handsets and what have you had no knowledge or experience within the finance industry, and the banks had no understanding of how a telco worked. So we were taking people from O2 and placing them with Lloyds Bank and vice versa. And I think that's just so exciting. You really do feel that you're genuinely at the forefront of a technology, and you're actually assisting that technology evolve.
I think it's always going to be about how can, especially with this new technology, it's how can transferable skills from one area. It's like with cybersecurity, all these roles that are coming up, it needs to be skills that you're good at IT or to be transferred into it.
Yeah.
So how would you say people are being successful in MRL, being account managers? Are there real standout moments? Or people are listening going, well, I do delivery, but this could be something I want to do. Is it something they go, well, actually, I'm already doing this in my current company?
Well, I think I can't compare it to any other organisation in particular, but one of the things the account managers do get exposed to very early on is working with very senior level decision makers, with whom those relationships have already been opened up, but it gives them the opportunity very early on to be talking to important people in the markets in which they're operating.
And how do you train people up to do that? Because people could, like you said, you come in, you've never done recruitment before, you've been doing retail, and then a week, 2 weeks later, you could be talking to someone who is earning six figures, and you are on the phone, and you need to be the person who's leading that conversation. How do you train someone to do that?
Well, a lot of it's about market knowledge, and that's one of the reasons why we do focus on these narrow verticals. I don't think it would be possible to have those conversations if you were trying to cover if you're a specialist in everything, you know what I mean? But having that market knowledge and following the trends that are going on in the market, learning from your colleagues and talking to candidates is the best way to get market information and understand the market. Because they're the people around that are actually doing it. So all of those things really help, I think. But I think it is a mindset thing, and it's about recognising that, okay, this person may be an expert in selling SaaS, whatever. I'm an expert in recruiting in that market, so we're actually peers. You know, that's the mindset that one needs to adopt, and the sooner one does adopt that, the easier the job becomes.
I think we're in a very valuable position and I think a lot of people take this for granted because companies want to know what we know because we are speaking to their competitors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we know things that are happening in all their other businesses, but also for a candidate side, we can tell the candidate what that client is looking for. And then for the client, we can also tell them, these are what candidates want. And I think we forget that sometimes we steer a lot of the terms of, especially from a board level, if it's that high and senior in terms of the way we're positioning, we could really steer this conversation in terms of these are the types of all the individuals that you need for your business.
And we do very, very frequently. We'll make clients aware of where's the best place to put your European head office for the talent you're looking for, because we know those talent pools and we know that this particular city is already vastly overpopulated with high-tech startups and there aren't enough salespeople to go around. So why don't you think about putting it somewhere else where that there's a similar talent pool but it hasn't been as extensively fished. And those kind of conversations are the things that have kept me in this industry as long as I've been in it, because you are genuinely helping clients make the most of their business.
So what do you look for then? Because obviously people could be listening and thinking, that account manager model sounds quite interesting. There could be people already doing recruitment. It might not be tech. It could be more traditional local recruitment. What do you personally look? Obviously, because you're the guy that says yes or no to the account managers, really. So what do you look for? Obviously, there's if grads have experience, but taking that aside, if there's people already working in recruitment, what makes you look at CV and go, that is the experience that I would like to see for someone to do the account managers?
Well, I mean, first of all, the CV is only I don't really put too much stead in CVs. It's really.
I'm so glad you said that.
As long as someone hasn't had 26-month stints with different recruitment companies, that would clearly be a red flag. But I've brought people into my team that have worked at the polar opposite ends of the recruitment spectrum. One of the guys that we've got who's now moved on to be a 360, when he joined us, he'd been working for one of the major high street chains, placing short-term temps, so literally plumbers, packers, forklift drivers, at like
the complete opposite.
Like 24 hours notice. The forklift driver hasn't shown up today. Can you get someone down here in the next half an hour? And now he's recruiting internationally within the semiconductor industry. And he's placing candidates that have got global responsibility. So the CV is only the starting point. I've recently hired another guy who's had a phenomenally good start, who was placing temp teachers. Again, nothing related to technology, but he just demonstrated the drive, the ambition, and just the ability to kind of join up dots, which is something that a CV is not going to tell you.
No.
Frankly, a degree isn't going to tell you. really. I've had graduates who just couldn't get recruitment.
So it's more about the conversations you have with them.
It's about a kind of native intelligence rather than what people have learned, I think, and you can build on that. You know, David says that what he looks for in a recruitment consultant is like if you're speccing out a new laptop, you know, you want loads of memory, you know, a really fast processor.
Yeah.
You know, and that's right. You want someone that can remember things and can think quickly.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty decent analogy. Now, that's hard to quantify from a CV.
Okay, so last question then. Mm-hmm. I ask this to everyone.
Yeah.
What would be the 3 bits of advice you'd give to somebody or to your former self starting recruitment?
Stick at it.
Yeah.
First of all.
As in, what's those times of I'm going to give up?
Yeah. When I first moved into my first executive search company, and I tell this to people when I'm interviewing them here, I'd been pretty successful in my first company. And then I moved into this much more senior level stuff. And about 3 months in, I just hit a brick wall, and I just thought I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 4 years successfully somewhere else, and I unfortunately had a really supportive manager. She said, "No, you're doing all the right things. It just takes longer. It's a longer sales cycle."
Do you think it was because it was change?
Yeah, it's changed. It was slower. In my Austin Ben, the first company I mentioned, if I interviewed a photocopier sales guy in the morning, I could place that guy by the afternoon.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's used to really rapid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if something was taking 2 months, what's going wrong? What am I doing wrong? So tenacity is absolutely key, I think. Allied to that is obviously self-motivation. You know, I'm a firm believer that people are naturally motivated, but bad managers or bad environments can demotivate them. So you want people that are naturally motivated. And I think also organisational skills are really important, managing your time effectively. And that's something that quite often the best salespeople are the worst at, but we make sure that we give them all the support possible to help them manage their day effectively. So those are 3 key attributes, I think.
I think motivation's such a key one, I think, because especially here, you know, you aren't kind of looked over constantly.
No.
You aren't kind of, you've got to make this many phone calls every week, or this has these deals on the table every week, but you're kind of left on your own to kind of make your own desk. But on the flip side, the support is there when you want it and when you need it.
Yeah.
So I think you need that motivation to kind of go, I can do that, but also not be afraid to go, can you help me?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the point where people fail, when they're too afraid to ask for their help because they think, shit, I can't ask for help because that means they think I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think asking for help is a sign of weakness. I think it's a sign of strength, personally. And that's what happened to me that 3 month. 3 months into that company, I went to my manager and said, I used to be really good at this. What's gone wrong? Yeah. And actually, I was still okay at it. It was just a different environment, and it took me a while to adapt to that. Yeah. We do give a huge amount of support, and as you say, we do give people a huge amount of latitude as well to build their desks in the way that they feel comfortable with. But yeah, there's always a direction. I think that's key.
Well, Terry, thank you very much for coming on today to talk about our account model. As we've said, we are actively hiring for account managers and for business development consultants. But if it is something you might be interested in, feel free to come onto our website, look at our careers section. You'll see Terry's video about the academy, talking about the account manager model. And you never know, you could be on our next podcast. So again, Terry, thanks very much for coming in. Remember, always like and comment. Share it as well. We're on YouTube. Soon we're going to be videoing the podcasts, so you can even see what we're doing. But keep your eyes peeled next week for our next episode, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you for listening to the Honest Recruiter podcast. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and even subscribe. Keep your ears peeled for the next episode.